lately. My animals are all fine. Bolt and Mallory are doing really well. Like I've told you guys recently, you don't see them because they have been pretty much living outside for over a year now. And by living outside, I mean they spend most of their time outside. In the evenings, we'll, you know, open the door and, have them come in, especially when it's winter and very cold or whatever. And I'll try to get them to sleep in the house, in front of the fire and all that. And they'll come in and wag their tails, and Mallory will jump on my lap, and Bolt will give me kisses, and they'll walk around the house, and they'll generally pee on something. And they'll look for the cats to see if they can chase the cats, but I always make sure the cats are sequestered when I bring the dogs in. And then they go stand by the front door and ask to be put out again. And I was feeling so horrible at first. I thought, oh no, my dogs have been banished to the yard because I'm ill, until I realized how happy they are out in the yard. So I don't feel quite so bad. I think in part it's because they're both, one's a Chihuahua mix, the other's a Husky German Shepherd mix, and both of those kinds of dogs are very territorial. They know that part of their job is to bark at anything that comes along. The Husky mix, Bolt, he loves to howl. So when he hears sirens or coyotes or anything like that, oh man, he starts to howling, and you can just tell that he loves it so much, and it feels so good to howl. So luckily we're, not close enough to other neighbors that anybody's ever complained about it. In fact, my neighbor who was helping me clean the other day said she mentioned that she heard Bolt howling that night before, and I was like, oh man, I'm so sorry. I should probably deal with that. And she says, no, she says, I love to listen to him howl. So I thought, I hope the rest of the neighbors feel the same way you do. Actually, they're our closest neighbor. I don't think any of the other neighbors can hear him, to be honest with you. So anyhow, they're doing fine. Both my cats are doing fine. The few farm animals that are left are okay. We've got the 2 pigs that live out front. They're not for consumption. They're just for companionship. And they're happy. My husband bought them some straw today. And what you do with pigs, or what we do with ours anyhow, we buy straw in the fall when it starts to get cool, and then again in the summer when they've pretty much gone through their fall straw. But anyhow, we just take big flakes of it like this, and we throw it so that it piles up at the entrance to their little overhang shed, little sleeping area that they have. And the pigs do the work. They will they chop up the flakes of straw, and they make their bed with it themselves. You don't have to do a thing other than buy the straw and throw it into their their pen, and then they take it from there. And you come back that afternoon, and all the straw will have been pushed up into their pen, and they'll have laid it out exactly the way they want it, and both of them will be in there completely covered in straw. They can burrow down under that straw. Somehow they manage to turn around, and all you see are their little snouts, through the straw. And you can see the straw going up and down while they're taking breaths. And my pigs are pretty big. They're probably around 200 pounds or so. They're not huge hogs. They're, smallish pigs. Okay, so I'm not going to take this off because I'm going to start sewing, but here we have the bottom sewn shut, and that's what it looks like from the back. This is what it will look like pretty much from the front. So now what you do is you have to sew this back part down to the round sleeves. And there's a lot of different ways to do this, but the way I'm going to do it, I'm going to start by tacking it down So I'm going to take a stitch here at this point. Then I'm going to take another stitch about midway, and then a third stitch at the end. So there'll be 3 stitches that hold the bottom part of the sweater body to the sweater arms, and then I'll take a few more just single stitches along the outside. So basically what I'm doing is I'm tacking it into place, and that will hold this big mess of stuff, and so that I can go back around and actually sew it. So I'm going to tack down this bottom part, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. So yeah, so pigs are doing fine. I have 3 alpaca left. You know, my alpaca were rescue animals. A lot of them were pretty old. You know, they were 15 years old, 17 years old, and their owners knew that they didn't have too much more time, so they started to give them away to people, and I took that on. I went ahead and ended up. I think we must have had 9 alpaca at one point, but the older ones started to pass away, and we lost one to a mountain lion, and at least we think it was a mountain lion. It could have been a pack of coyotes. But the other 3 seem to be doing fine, so they're okay. They're all much younger. I think the oldest one in that group is 8 years old, so they're not ancient. And of course, those of you guys who've been following me for a while know that my burrito passed away last year, and I had him cremated, and I've got his cremains still, and he lives in a pretty little pine box on the front porch. We lost our flock of ducks with the exception of 3 of them, and I say our flock, they weren't really our ducks. They just showed up out of nowhere. We don't know where they came from, and there were probably a dozen of them at one point when they first came over, and then they started to disappear. Now I don't know if they migrated off somewhere else, or if they were killed by predators, or what happened, but now we're down to 3, and we've had the same 3 ducks for a year now, and they are inseparable. You see them walking around all over the property, and they seem to be able to to do just fine, not get ate by the coyotes, which is good. So I took 3 just single stitches to hold that. Now I'm going to do a couple on the sides, and then I'm going to sew the whole thing down. Well, you know what? I take that back. I think I can pretty easily just sew this section here to the, sleeve. I don't think I'm going to need to just kind of push it into position. So, all is well on the farm. Winter. Although, like I said, we haven't been in the fire area, we are definitely in a fire zone out here. And as winter's coming on and it's getting cooler and cooler, the urge to put in a fire in the wood stove, with every night that's sequentially colder, the more I want to do that. But we're not going to do that until after we've had a good soaking. Once we've had at least, excuse me, at least 2 days worth of good rain, then we'll feel safe about using our wood stove. I know a lot of people out here are already using their wood stoves. I just don't feel comfortable doing that until we've got some wet on the ground. So that means that we've been having not so cozy nights here, bundled up in our sleeping bags and our down comforter, sitting in the recliners watching Midsummer Murders. And that's cool. I mean, like I said, I'd rather have cooler weather than hotter weather. I'd rather live in cooler weather. And I'm fine with just putting on another sweater or another layer of something and just kind of moving around and staying warm that way. I'm all right with that. At least in this mild cold. By mild, I mean it's only been down in the 30s once last week. It's been down in the low 40s most nights. That's not cold exactly, but it's, you begin to notice that there's a nip in the air. And so we shall see how that works down. Okay, so I thought I had plenty of t-shirts cut up and ready to go, but apparently this can take more t-shirts than you are expecting it to take. So I'm going to go ahead and finish getting these shoved up in this sleeve. And then I'm going to run and go grab some more t-shirts to do the body with. But I think we're going to go ahead and sew the arms shut first before we do the body. I think that's the way to do it. Yeah. Boy, this sweater's got a lot of elasticity, so I'm probably just overstuffing these arms. So anyhow, how have I been feeling? Not too swell. I had a gout attack this week because I foolishly drank freshly pressed apple cider. Okay, let me show you this. So we're all stuffed. These arms are all stuffed and ready to go. So now I'm going to put one cuff inside the other and then going to sew it shut with this. Is there enough room? Yeah. My husband and his brother, they make apple cider every year. His brother lives in an apple orchard, actually. There's an old apple orchard on the property where he built his home, and it hasn't been maintained like for commercial apples or anything, but on certain years, depending on the weather, they will get a nice crop for making apple juice. And this was one of those years. They had a really nice crop of apples. So they pressed 10 gallons of apple cider, and my husband brought home 4 gallons. And boy, that was wonderful. Gosh, it tasted so great. It was just so neat to have apple cider, this fall and blah, blah, blah. And it promptly threw me into a gout attack. And the reason is because the kind of sugar that's in apple cider is particularly bad for people who have gout. So I didn't know that until the gout started. So I did a little bit of research, and sure enough, you're supposed to stay away from freshly pressed juices that haven't been diluted a whole bunch. So anyway, yeah, been dealing with that. I'm going to get this sewn a little bit more and then I'm going to show you what I'm doing. I'm just doing an overhand stitch. I'll show you. See, I'm just doing an overhand and sewing that the cuffs together. And I shoved that one cuff pretty far in. It's about this far into the other side. So that gives it a nice firm finish where the stuffings from both ends are pressed up against one another pretty well, which is good. Boy, this is going to be neat when it's done. I'm digging this already. So anyway, gout. I've been doing some depression sleeping. And hasn't been too bad because I've also gotten out of bed and gotten stuff done, gone outside and done some work out there. Yesterday was a marathon house cleaning session, and my neighbor came over and she and I worked in the craft room, getting stuff organized, and we worked out here, did all the, cleaned the windows, moved the furniture, vacuumed underneath everything, moved it back, screamed at my husband to put his junk away, which he did. Scrubbed down the stove, those sorts of things. And I just kind of wanted to get a jump on the whole Thanksgiving deal. It's just going to be Grant and I. Our kids, his kids live in another state. My son is on break from college, but he's not going to drive home because it's a long drive to get here. It's an 8-hour drive. And so he's going to hang out at school, study for his finals, which are coming up once he gets, once they get back. So he'll be doing finals and finishing up projects and stuff after he gets back from the Thanksgiving break for that whole last month. Then he's going to come home, and that's going to be nice. He's got a couple jobs lined up with some friends. My son was a chef. Well, not a chef. I mean, he was a cook at a resort, and he's done bartending ever since he could. He's been a bouncer. He's done that, kind of bar and grill food service work, basically. And he's got a friend who's a caterer, so they've got some gigs lined up for when he comes home for the Christmas holidays. And it'll be nice to have him back. It'll be the first time he's come home since he started school in August. My other son is going to Mazatlan with a friend, so they'll just happen to be gone over Thanksgiving itself. So it's just going to be me and Grant. So I'm going to make some traditional Thanksgiving dishes, but very small versions of them. And then in the late afternoon, we are going to go across the way to the neighbors and do a dessert and coffee hangout talking session. So that should be fun. All right, so here we go. We've got the arms sewn up. So now that leaves us with this bottom part. And what you do is you stuff the bottom part. And when it's stuffed, you go ahead and you sew it closed along the bottom. And then you sew this bottom to this section. So in order to do the stuffing, I need to go get myself a few more t-shirts. Not too many. The the bottom part doesn't have to be real thick the way these arms are, because the arms, you know how the animals like to turn in a circle and then they'll kind of snuggle up into the side of their little bed. I think that's why these arms should be nice and thick. But this bottom part, if it's this thick, it'll be okay. So I am off to get more t-shirts. I talked about wanting to change the color of my hair. Actually, I'm liking the color of my hair right now. I like the sort of faded out purple. I like the way it's kind of more pinkish up to the front. I did an overdye of purple last week. You can still see a little bit of it up here at the top. I have gray and white hair from this point down. And then I have like salt and pepper hair on the back. So this always takes really vibrantly. And I've been thinking about changing up the color to that rose gold color that's getting so popular everywhere. I love that color. It's obviously a lot less intense than purple. I like intense purple, but it's a lot less intense. It's kind of a smoky pink color. And there's just something about it that is really appealing. So I'm going to experiment with some of those color conditioners that you can get now that deposit color every time you wash or condition your hair. They come in a deep conditioner style as well that deposits a lot more color. Supposedly, they do not work on natural hair. You have to bleach your hair in order for these to work. However, I have seen videos where people have, overdyed their natural hair, and you can still see the color. It's not an intense, but it's a subtle effect, but it's very pretty. Supposedly, this overdye stuff doesn't work on gray hair, but we're going to give it a try. I'm going to order a sample size. It's expensive. 8.5 ounces of this color conditioner is $35, $40. It's expensive. So before investing in it, I'm going to go ahead and order the samples and see what kind of effects I get. I've given some thought to having some of my hair bleached as well to take the color better. I never would have thought I would hear myself say that, because bleaching, especially my very, very fine hair, would normally destroy it. But the miracle of Olaplex is making it so that even people like me can have their hair bleached and not be fairly certain that it's all just going to fall out. So thinking about doing that. I wouldn't do it myself. I would go to a salon to have that done. I have no experience with hair bleaching. And so I'd go to somebody who knows what they're doing. And somebody who uses Olaplex. I wouldn't do it without that stuff. I did a video about that a couple of years ago when I first discovered it. And I actually have Olaplex, so I'd probably take my own stash and have her use mine. Maybe give me a little discount because I had my own product. Anyway, I managed to break that. No biggie, I could tie that together. So that's what's going on. I'm going to go ahead and finish sewing this thing, and then we will put it on the ground and we will see if the cat is interested. Okay, this is what it looks like on the back. You can see where I've sewn it down to the arm part that had already been stuffed. It's all been sewn down really well. So now we're going to flip her over, whoops, without knocking my laptop. Oh yeah, now look at that. Now doesn't that look like a comfy pet bed? If you were a pet, wouldn't you love that bed? I think you would. But I think this pet bed needs a little bit of bling. Well, not bling exactly, but it needs a little personality. So I have just the thing to make this pet bed perfect. All right, so again, here it is. Looking beautiful, but it needs something. And what it needs are, well, every pet bed needs this, animal heads. Yeah, I've got a frog, little frog king, so he's got his crown. I have a unicorn. He doesn't have eyes, but I don't care. I have a little bear, like that. And then I have I have the beginnings of a mermaid too. Here's her face and her purple hair. She's got her mermaid tail. And what else does she have? Oh, she has little mermaid arms that have to be sewn on. So I'm going to go ahead and attach, what does this guy have? I don't know. So anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and attach the ones that are finished. That would be the Frog King and the teddy bear and the unicorn. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set them like shelf setters. I'm going to just set them up on the edge of the thing, and I'm going to have them, I think I'm going to have them facing the inside or the outside. I'm going to have them facing the outside. I don't want to scare the cats too badly when they're trying to sleep. So I'm going to go ahead and sew those down and show you what it looks like. Okay, I decided to sew on all 4 animal heads. There's my frog prince, my unicorn with his huge unicorn horn, my little bear or mousy, and then here is the, here's our little mermaid with her cute little mermaid tail. I left these guys faceless. I don't know why. I just sort of liked them better faceless. Sort of odd how that is. I think I'm going to cut her bang right here. Let her have a little bit of something. There. Okay, so there we go. Now what we have to find out is, will the cats recognize this as a bed? I don't know. Let's see. Yeah. Mia, look at your bed. Mia, look, you have a new bed. Can you see your new bed? Can you recognize that as a bed? She says, with those frightening creatures staring at me, you actually want me to get out of what I know is my own bed and walk across that wall of frightening creatures just to check out this other bed that I don't know if it's my bed or not? Are you joking? I'm a cat, but I'm smarter than that, right, Mia? Come here, girl. What do you think about your new animals? Look, you got animals to play with, see? Look at your animals. Nope. Says, as far as I'm concerned, that's not a bed. Well, wait and see if Otter decides she wants to claim it. Okay, so anyway, there's my weird sweater bed with its strange animal guards at the front of it. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.